You're listening to the Chronicles of a Gooner, the Arsenal podcast.
I'm Martin Tyler, and you're listening to Harry Symeou.
Hello, good morning. Welcome back to another live edition of the Chronicles of a Gooner podcast. It's our press review where we'll be bringing you all the latest Arsenal stories each morning, Monday to Friday. We'll be taking you through some of the headlines, sharing a little bit of opinion on there, and of course, getting you guys' opinion in the live chat about the stories discussed. Now, of course, yesterday's news was dominated by the sad breaking news that football legend Diego Maradona had passed away, and the tributes have been flooding in, not just from sort of ex-players, managers, people who were involved in the game, people who knew Diego personally, but these tributes have been flying in from fans all over the world. You can see just from scrolling through social media how much of an impact Diego Maradona had on football fans all over the world, not just in Naples, not just in Argentina, not just those supporters of the clubs for whom he played. Diego Maradona was, for me, the greatest player of all time. And you can see just how much he was appreciated right across the globe by the number and the quality of the tributes that have been coming through. Now, I wanted to bring some of these up because we're looking at some of the tributes, and I decided to take a look at what some of the newspapers are saying, because for this show going forward, that's what we'll be doing. We'll be looking at what the press have to say on sort of the biggest stories. And I wanted to focus in on some of the way that the English press are reporting this, because some of it, for me, it's rubbed me up the wrong way. I got to start off by talking about Peter Shilton first. He gave an interview to the Daily Mail this morning, Peter Shilton, and he had an opportunity to just put the whole hand of God thing to bed. Get over it. Forget about it. Diego Maradona sadly passed away. Yes, he used his hand to put that ball into the back of the net. He also scored in that same game one of the greatest goals we've ever seen. But that's beside the point here. Everybody's made mistakes. Let's celebrate what a fantastic footballer this guy was, and to keep banging on about the hand of God the way he did. And I quote him in the Daily Mail that he says, Diego had a great quality, but no sportsmanship. And it's just like, mate, get over it. Get over it. Like, this was donkeys years ago. Let's just celebrate what a fantastic player the world of football has lost. That is what's important right now. Just going to share my screen with those of you watching us on YouTube, and for those of you joining us on the audio platform, don't worry, we'll talk you through it. Just sharing some of the kind of newspaper front pages that are doing the rounds this morning, and the Guardian, they've come up with a wonderful picture of Diego Maradona, that iconic picture of him with 6 Belgian defenders around him, and they put the headline as El Diego, farewell to a football genius who dominated a World Cup like no other player. The Messiah, a national icon, how Maradona embodied Argentina. So a really respectful front page from the Guardian sports section. Fantastic. Really like that one. Moving on to the Telegraph. Another iconic image of Diego Maradona. Simple here. Diego Maradona, 1960 to 2020. The world has lost a legend, quoting the great Pele, who, of course, has had wonderful words to say about Diego. Moving on to the Times. In the hands of God, Diego Maradona, 1960 to 2020. They say Diego Maradona, regarded by many as the greatest footballer of all time, died yesterday, only a few weeks after his 60th birthday. I'm not really keen on this in the hands of God kind of thing. I feel like, obviously, it's a play on words. That's what the newspapers do. But it still feels to me like they're holding on to something that, you know, quite frankly, is done and dusted. You know, yes, it's an iconic moment in Diego Maradona's career, but for me, if you're paying tribute to somebody, you could really, you could do it in a better way. I think, just my personal opinion. Moving on to some of the tabloids in the UK, and well, these guys, they've really scraped the gutter with their headlines. Maradona in the hands of God, age 60. That's the Daily Star. Where was VAR when we needed it most? Embarrassing. Moving on to the Daily Mirror, they also say he's in the hands of God. So obviously that seems to be the common theme. Not much originality in the headlines doing the rounds this morning. Embarrassing again. They say Diego Maradona, a hero, a villain, a cheat, and a genius, dead at 60. Why do you need to bring in the cheat bit? I mean, I struggle to get my head around this because like, I wasn't around at the time, understandably, right? But what did the England fans and players expect Diego to do after that ball went in the net? Did they expect Diego to go up to the referee and say, sorry, mate, don't worry. This is not one of the biggest games I'm ever going to play in my life. My whole nation is not relying on me. My whole nation, by the way, that at the time were at war, or a few years prior, were at war with this nation we're playing. I'm going to go over to the referee and I'm going to say, sorry, lads, it did come off my hand. No, it's the official's responsibility. It was so clear. It was so obvious, to use a phrase of 2020. What did people want Diego to do there? I don't get that. Moving on, The Sun, Maradona dead at 60 in the hands of God, England's World Cup nemesis and one of the all-time greats. Farewell to a legend. So, you know, this one is not as bad, I don't think. But again, using that same flipping line, in the hands of God, blah, blah, blah. 0 points for me for originality. It's quite embarrassing, to be honest. Moving on, let's talk Arsenal. We're going to start off by discussing the reports linking Arsenal with a move for Christian Eriksen. That story has been doing the rounds for quite a few days now. Christian Eriksen having a miserable time of it in Italy with Inter. Antonio Conte not keen on him at the moment for whatever reason, which begs the question as to why the hell did they sign him in the first place. But according to the Daily Star, Arsenal will leave it to Paris Saint-Germain and Borussia Dortmund to fight it out over Christian Eriksen. The former Tottenham star is set to leave Inter Milan in January after growing frustrated with a lack of playing time. While Arsenal have been offered the chance to sign the 28-year-old, they have no plans to move for him and have not held any talks about the Denmark star. Gunners boss Mikel Arteta has made signing a centre-back his top priority instead, despite Arsenal's woes in front of goal. Really interesting, and I'd love to know what you guys think in the comments about this, because there has been a lot of sort of suggestion in the last few days that actually that Arsenal are prioritising the signing of a centre-back. Merih Demiral is somebody who they've been highly linked with, somebody who currently plays his football for Juventus in Serie A. But from what we understand, from what the reports are saying, it's unlikely that Demiral is going to leave Juventus at this point in his career. He says club scouts have watched the 22-year-old Turkish star, but as I said, he's unlikely to leave Juventus, with Arsenal set to widen their search. Now, you may be sitting there scratching your head and thinking, why are Arsenal in the market for a centre-back? We've got so many at the club at the moment. It is worth noting that David Luiz, Shkodran Mustafi and Sokratis, all three of those players, their deals come to an end at the end of this current season. So David Luiz is very much a part of the first team plans. Mustafi is very much part of the squad. So that's two potential first team defenders that we're going to be losing. So you can understand actually why a centre-back is someone that Arsenal are looking at. But we've got to remember Pablo Mari is due to come back. What happens with William Saliba as well? That remains to be seen. And that brings me on nicely to the next update, which is about William Saliba, who, according to Canal Plus in France, is willing to take a significant pay cut on his £90,000 a week salary at Arsenal to seal a loan move away in January. He's grown frustrated, tired and fed up of the fact that he's not playing at the Arsenal. Obviously, he's not been included in the squad either, which makes it even more frustrating for the young player. But it seems very much as though William Saliba is willing to take a pay cut if it means he'll be able to move away from Arsenal in January and play regular football. So yeah, those are the updates today. That's what's doing the rounds in the papers, in the tabloids this morning. Obviously, that will change throughout the day, I'm sure. And of course, Arsenal take on Molde in the UEFA Europa League this evening. We'll be bringing you reaction to that one late on tonight. So come and join me for that, probably around about 10 p.m. UK time, where we'll be looking back on that game, getting you guys' thoughts in the live chat as well. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Let us know your thoughts in the comments. Subscribe to the podcast on all major podcast stores as well. As you know, we are now in partnership with 90min. So check out 90min.com to give them a follow on social media. Let's have a quick look at what you guys are saying in the chat before we jump off. Big good morning to those of you wishing me a happy morning or good morning, whatever you want to call it. Felix says, going back to Maradona, the goal after that hand of God was extraordinary, all the way from the center of the pitch. He was great. Archangel says the second goal was worth 2 anyway. So yeah, that's pretty much the opinion of everybody. That Diego Maradona, yes, he handled the ball in that goal, but he was just a genius, an absolute genius. And that's why some of the headlines, some of the tabloids, some of the comments of certain people, Peter Shilton in particular, have rubbed me up the wrong way this morning, because we should be celebrating the life of a football genius who unfortunately was, in my view, destroyed by outside influences. A young, humble boy who couldn't deal with the fame. And I'd imagine that most of us would be the same in that position. The lack of privacy, the lack of sort of being able to live a normal life definitely took its toll on Diego Maradona. And as I said on yesterday's podcast, if you haven't watched the documentary by Asif Kapadia, it gives a real insight as to how Diego Maradona's world sort of came crashing down around him. And you can't help but watch that and be sympathetic towards him. So do check that out. Zissy says, really? Peter Shilton holding a grudge 34 years later. What a tragic human being. I agree, mate. It's just so unnecessary. So unnecessary. Right, that brings us to the end of this morning's latest news review. We're going to be bringing you these Monday to Friday moving forward. Let us know your thoughts in the comments. We're going to be reviewing the big stories, doing the rounds, everything Arsenal related each and every weekday morning, live from around about 8:30 a.m. So be sure to tune in for those. If you can't tune in live, be sure to listen to them back. We'll be back very soon. Until then, take care. Have a good day. Cheers.
You're listening to the Chronicles of a Gooner, the Arsenal podcast.
I'm Martin Tyler, and you're listening to Harry Symeou.